Hello, you're listening to the IoT Weekly Podcast. Hello and welcome to episode number 32 of the IoT Weekly Podcast, brought to you by Gearforge Software. My name is Matthew and I'm joined by my co-hosts and good friends Cliff and Zeineb. Hey guys, how's it going today?
Hi.
Hey Matthew, going great.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Excellent. So Cliff, what have you been up to recently?
Well, I think you know about the puppies, and I do have some screenshots or pictures of those, so I'll hand them over to Zeineb, and she can make sure she get a few of those puppy pics out there.
Perfect.
Oh, I'm excited about that.
Yes, I thought you'd like that. But lots of Python, so that's always fun. Playing with the Dropbox API, kind of slick. I think I mentioned this to Matthew, but I was able to push pictures in 3 lines of code. I'm just shocked. How easy it was. Just did like an npm install, and it went great.
That is super cool.
Playing with some solenoids. So if you're not familiar with the solenoid, it's electrical, kind of electrical magnetic scenario where it pulls down a piece of metal in the middle of the cylinder itself. So just playing with a few of those and with some springs. So very, very diverse week. How about you, Zeineb?
I wish I had a week like that. I really do. Yeah, for me, just kind of been just moving around. It's kind of just summer laziness. It's super hot here, absolutely hot, and there's me hanging out with my neighbor because, you know, it's called being an adult and trying.
Adulting, it's so hard.
What does really hot mean?
I'm sitting in this room right now, and it's super hot.
Give me a number.
I'll have to go back on that, but I'm guessing at least it's at least around like 100.
100 Fahrenheit? So like 40
Yes.
Celsius? Something.
Yes, I'm guessing it is like a few states down. It's a tiny country. A few states down, it's around 130.
Oh,
So,
hey, oh.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy.
We're not too far behind you, but that's pretty hot.
Oh no.
Yeah. Yeah, it's what, Cliff? It's probably been in the mid 80s to the mid 90s most of the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, it was pretty brutal from a humidity standpoint on the 4th of July here.
Really?
Definitely.
Yeah. Matthew, what about you? What have you been up to?
Boy, I mean, other than all of the JavaScript I've been writing, I have been sort of knee-deep, with CentOS and Fedora 28 and some cPanel internals. So I am not a cPanel guy, but I did have reason to go digging around and figure out how to configure some kind of more advanced configurations, I guess, and that was eye-opening. Don't know that cPanel is on my list of software to want to use under typical circumstances, and actually, as you know, we didn't. So,
yeah, didn't we end up using was it Lightsail by Amazon?
Yeah, we
That's pretty slick.
Yeah, so some particular requirements of this customer we were trying to follow, and we wound up on Lightsail, and actually pretty awesome. I was pleasantly surprised, very DigitalOcean-like.
Yep.
And a good job by Amazon. So
yeah, nice job.
Yeah. Also, this is random, but I actually replaced Linux on one of my laptops with Windows 10.
Who are you, and what did you do with Matthew?
Exactly. It is crazy, but yeah, I kind of decided I wanted to give that a try as the sort of daily driver. This is on a really low-end laptop that I use mostly just for portability, and honestly, it's been pretty great so far, so we'll keep that going.
Nice.
Yeah, so do we have any feedback this week? Zeineb, anybody?
Well, I mean, I guess it's time for us to start letting our website show up in the EU, is all I'm thinking.
Yes, we did kind of have a rage quit there, didn't we? When GDPR happened, we sort of said, we don't want to deal with it.
Yeah, we had a gentleman reach out to us from Germany, was hoping to get the RSS feed. Isn't that correct, Zeineb, off of Twitter?
Yeah. like basically promotions through, I believe, his page or something like that, for our podcast as well. But since our website does not show up for him,
Yep, he's getting a 403.
Well, maybe we will have to reconsider that.
Yep, we'll have to think through that part.
Definitely.
All right. Well, if you do have any feedback for us, you can shoot us a message at podcast@gearforgesoftware.com, or you can find us on Twitter at GearforgeIoT. Neither of those are blocked in the EU, so
yeah. I mean, I'm also
you could
thinking
definitely reach us there.
Yes.
Yeah, you could definitely find us on SoundCloud as well. I mean, there's comments and stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, and now it's time for a word from our sponsor.
Well, thank you, Matthew. Well, our sponsor today is Gearforge Software. They're an IoT consultant that works with companies that are ready to make your company smarter. If you're looking for a partner that will live, eat, and breathe your project, then look no farther than Gearforge Software. Learn more at gearforgesoftware.com.
All right, fantastic. And now it's time for some news. And we're actually going to start out today with an interesting IoT product that is being launched. And this is coming to us via zdnet.com. And Cho Mu-Hyun is the author of the article. And it is called My Hero. It resembles a stick of lipstick, but the idea here is that when you uncap it as if you were going to use the lipstick, it actually calls the police. It sends out a very loud alarm, sends a text to the police emergency number. It also starts recording audio for up to 3 minutes, and you can set it up so that it sends texts and your location to up to 5 friends. And this is meant to be sort of, your sort of emergency device, and I think probably takes the place of the rape whistle, right? And yeah, so this is interesting use of IoT technology. It is available in South Korea right now. It's actually, I think it's been launched by Telecom, SK Telecom, which I assume is South Korea Telecom. And it costs about $22 US, which I think is really reasonable.
Yeah,
what do you guys think of this?
I like it. I wish there was a picture of what this thing looked like, but I mean, at 0.8 centimeters, that's not overly huge. The only question I would be curious about is, I know sometimes my wife always complains that she loses her lipstick in the purse, so she'll be digging for it for a bit. So that would probably be the only concern I have is.
Yeah, and the article does actually mention that it can be worn around the neck. As on like a chain. Yeah.
Well, that's kind of slick. You're like, we're going into a sketchy area, or who knows. Club is done, time to walk home, throw it on your chain or wrap it on your wrist, right? That's pretty slick.
Yeah, it's something that you could just always have with you without it being any kind of inconvenience. It's no bigger than any other self-defense kind of item, right?
Yep. This is one of those where it's one of those items where it's just, you think it just makes sense, right? It's a good fit for technology.
Great fit for technology. I think my questions would be about battery life.
Yep.
Like, it's no good if it's not charged.
Yeah. And it's no good if you got to charge it every night, right?
Yeah, absolutely. This needs to be something that lasts for a while. But I'm assuming that for what it's doing, that wouldn't be a problem. Like, it's got no screen, right?
Well, and if it only, similar to some of these other devices that long lasting, if it only activates when you actually take the cap off, it's sleeping the entire time, it could last for years.
Yeah, well, you think about the battery life of like a Kindle, right? It's like with that e-ink screen has just virtually no power drain, and it can go for like 2 months on a charge.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think this is pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm also thinking, I wonder if they're ever gonna make other shapes aside from a lipstick, because that can sometimes, push away a certain type of people. They're like, oh, it looks like a lipstick, I'm not gonna bother. Even though the end goal is just to promote, like, safety.
Yeah, that's super true. I mean, um, it seems like it could be a general safety device. In this case, it's maybe being marketed to women mostly.
Absolutely.
But I would think it would be useful for anybody. It could be useful for kids. Could be useful for men. You know, I remember walking through the Tenderloin. Yeah.
I'm also thinking like, and it sometimes happens that you make mistakes and all that. Like, what happens if you open it by mistake, or you have the kids playing with it, or like
oh
it
yeah,
falls and it opens, and there's so many issues that could come up with it.
yeah, it's really true. I didn't think about that. Yeah, you accidentally the cap pops off, like in the purse or something.
That's why you kind of like with the Apple, you have like the five, what was it, the 5 taps on the home button.
Yeah.
I think I'm not an Apple user, so.
Actually, for my watch, all I have to do, well, I know my watch is different than the phone, but I just have to hold it, and then I get a like a thing where I can just slide to do like emergency, which
Yeah,
is
so
good
it's kind
because
of
in
like,
many cases when I'm doing yard work, it tends to think I'm going into an emergency.
Oh really?
Yeah, because I wear gloves when I do that.
Yeah.
so it's
Yeah, I
like very
suppose.
important to kind of have that mechanism that allows them to confirm, yes, this is an emergency. Yes, I want to call the cops because the cops are getting involved. And so it could easily turn from a safety device to wasting resources.
Yeah, yeah, that's a really good point. And also, I mean, the cops think there's some kind of emergency, so when they show up,
They're a bit on high alert, I would think.
yeah, and
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I assume that's kind of a high stakes situation there. You definitely don't want any mistakes. Interesting. Well, let's talk about groceries. Zeineb, do you have some information on grocery sales?
Groceries. I need to learn to say that. Wait, groceries?
Well, how do you say it?
Groceries.
It sounds the same to me.
Yeah, it sounds the same to me. I guess I didn't notice a difference.
It's confusing, but basically they're talking about we already posted some of this on the Twitter page. We're talking about the issues with food and like especially Halloween, or in this case the July 4th kind of themed cakes and cookies that are in the grocery aisles. That if they don't sell that day, they have to put like smash the prices and put a lot of sales on them, and then they might not even go away. And so it's the problem of having too much inventory at one point. And so, yeah, and so Adobe, how do you guys say that?
Adobe?
Adobe? What?
Adobe.
That's
Yeah.
weird.
Adobe.
That's how we say it.
I'm gonna go with my senses and just say Adobe. So, so the Adobe team is beta testing kind of like an IoT solution, kind of an app that allows, if you opt in, allows you to customize certain promotions so that you can drive sales to people that are interested in it. And so they kind of put sensors around, and they can tell when you walk in the store where you're moving, what you're buying, what you're looking at, so that they can customize what kind of promotions you'd be interested in, but they can also get feedback on how much they should have as inventory. And it says right away, before we go into like the issues of privacy, that it says that they looked into it, and like around 70 to 80% of consumers would be willing to share their information if they are going to have a valuable experience. So they kind of just like, don't worry about privacy. People want to do this. They're opting in. They get notifications. They get what they want. We get what we want. It works out.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And so they are. What is the device here?
It seems to be like it's a cloud-based platform, and you get an app as a consumer, and
So this is on phone, basically like a
yeah.
mobile. I see.
So I guess it's kind of like Groupon, but like other promotions on your phone, kind of the same thing. But inside the grocery store, as you move near the food section, you get notifications about promotions in the food section.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like I'm kind of concerned. I don't know if I don't know if it's necessary.
Well, probably not, but I mean, there's a lot of experimentation happening with this. You know, it's interesting later in the article, they're talking about the sort of pricing structure in groceries and why it's prohibitive to use RFID tags for them, because the profit margin is already so low. So I think just generally this is an area that maybe hasn't been figured out yet. There is no, there is no sort of solution that's been tried and true, and so people are trying to innovate in this grocery arena. I don't know. What do you think about this, Cliff?
I think the biggest problem, just like you mentioned, is specifically around the margins. Because if an RFID tag, just like it says in the article, is 4 to 7 cents for an item that goes on something that costs $1 or $2, I think that's a bigger problem. Because when I've talked to other folks that deal in these type of products, right, they're talking, the words I hear are luxury items or high value tracking is what I typically hear. I think these sensors are going to have to get down to like it's a penny for a roll of like 100 of these things, right? I think that's where it's got to go. I think they've got to figure out the technology of how to get there. I think once they figure that out, this will be so much easier. Going back to what Zeineb said specifically around the sharing of information, it said in the article too that when they tested this out years ago, they had envisioned like retailers using it to recognize customers as they entered and greeted. Well, customers didn't like that because they're like, well, that's freaking weird. They wanted it so that way if they did want help, they could ask for help, but just stay back. It's like going into those department stores and they come right up to you. I hate that. It's just, that turns me off so quickly. Because I don't even know what I'm looking for yet. I just like to browse and things like that. And trust me, if I've got an issue, I will come find you. That's not a problem. Just make yourself available, or better yet, make it so I can look on your app to find it myself, like in store, or guide me to it with a beacon or something like that.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I'm thinking about my wife right now, who is an avid user of Target's Cartwheel app.
Yeah.
Where she has saved so many hundreds of dollars using that, and she's a very active user of that app. But it's very much she's taking the initiative, right? With the app, she's deciding to use it and taking an active role in seeing what's on sale. Versus sort of this is a little different, I think, where they're actually talking about recognizing the user sort of and where they are and what they're doing in the store and being able to communicate with them. So it's more them communicating with me.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how I like that. Maybe it could be cool, but I think I would find it annoying in the same way that you're talking about, Cliff.
Yeah.
Like, I find it super annoying to be approached in a store. Just leave me alone. I need help.
I guess in my head, if I walked into the store and it said, hey, heads up, here are all the promotions that you can only get in store today, and they're located here, and just give me a list, that would probably be okay for me.
Yeah. So then maybe some level of this is
that would be fine, but don't like bombard me if I walk by it, don't hit me again. That would be freaking annoying.
Yeah, totally.
If I want it, I'm going to go find it. But if I'm there because my wife says I need to get something, get out real quick because she's in the car, I'm not going to be looking at those things.
Well, I do wonder, you could talk about things like, so for example, with data science, you can keep refining these algorithms to a point where, they get smarter and smarter. But in a lot of cases, it's the difference between the smarter algorithm and the less smart algorithm just isn't that noticeable, right?
Yep.
And so I kind of wonder about this, like, is it going to a level, like 1 or 2 levels too deep, where it's actually it's enough for them to know what you purchased and to tailor your coupons to that.
Yeah.
Versus needing to track you in the store. I mean, does that level of information really make that much of a difference?
No, because realistically, I know if I go in after the 4th of July, there's going to be 4th of July cupcakes just waiting for me, and they're probably going to be on sale.
Yeah, and as long as they have a way to get you a coupon ahead of time to, sort of incentivize you to come in. I mean, is that experience going to be so much better if they can track exactly where you went in the store?
No, they'd be better off actually investing money and making it so it just ships to me within an hour.
Yeah, yeah.
How convenient.
At my office, right?
That
Like,
is
I have a craving for cupcakes,
that is
and I have
not
a
what
coupon. Can I get it now?
that is not what brick and mortar stores want to hear, but Amazon is
Yeah.
clapping right now. Like,
I'm just throwing that out there. Well, so I mean, if you the Aspen Idea Festival, I think was what, last week, if I remember correctly, and there was an interview with the CEO of General Mills, and he was saying like the online is it grew 40% last year for them, and they work with the retailers and things like that to facilitate and make that even easier from a retail standpoint. For
well, I
food.
think from every standpoint, we are continuing to see the growth of online services. I mean, the numbers showing how many 100% remote workers there are continues to increase every year by a lot. The same thing with the number of companies that are 100% remote. The same thing with online shopping. And just think about the way our social lives have gone, right? So much of it has moved online.
Yeah. So if you could integrate this more from an IoT standpoint um, into the delivery and the e-commerce, just like the Amazon buttons, those are just brilliant. I'd rather have something like that for my local store.
Yeah, yeah. So we're probably not going to invest in Adobe Experience, I guess. That's what
We just have to remember it's still in the beta, and they're probably going to end up they're probably going to figure out that it's too invasive, and it's probably going to end up being like more refined to be less in your face and less in your way, kind of more like, hey, once in a while, oh look, you can get a promotion here, because I mean it's going to start out messy, just about where it could go from that.
Yeah.
Well, and it's also really possible that Cliff and I do not represent the typical American shopper.
Probably
Well,
not.
neither do I. So
yeah, that's true.
Hello.
You obviously don't represent the typical American shopper. Coming to us from Tunisia.
Yes.
Too bad.
So, Cliff, what do we know about obsolescence and IoT?
Yeah. So interesting article coming out of Network World. The writer is Frederick Paul, and it's an interesting article talking about. So it's like it's a bit young, so it's still a little young. So it's saying that there definitely has space to grow within the industry, and even though they're saying, hey. It's forecasted to be a $9 trillion market by 2020, but we're still a long way off from a true mature technology. And I think we see this every day, right, Matthew? And what we do from the Gearforge side, but we see this in many cases where people are still very young within a lot of the technology that's coming out. Even when you're trying to interface with a standard kind of industrial scenario, and you're using 4 to 20, but if you are trying to, let's say, just do some hacking in the garage, you're probably leveraging a 3 to 5 volt type scenario. So there's still a pretty far gap with regards to kind of circuits and sensors that have been out there for quite some time versus kind of the hobbyists bridging over to more of an industrial or manufacturer or retail type scope. So quite a bit of opportunity yet, but quite a bit of growing up that needs to happen. And I realize I touched on specifically sensors, but it goes even beyond that to they have an example about the Apple Watch, which I think it's okay, but they're saying that a lot of the devices that are coming out now are being recalled and things like that for security fixes, or they're just getting replaced with V2, V3, V4 because it's such early on within the industry.
Yeah, well, this is, it's sort of like, think about mobile. So mobile has a 2-year obsolescence cycle.
Yep.
And that is because that is traditionally the amount of time that people are on the contract, right?
It is, and then you switch out.
Yeah, and of course the carriers are switching this up now, but it's still sort of that's sort of the rule, is 2 years, and the technology's been moving fast enough that a phone that's 2 to 3 years old might, it might be a little slow, depending on your platform. I'm still running an iPhone 5S, and it's getting a little long in the tooth.
Sure.
Probably time for an upgrade. It's definitely been more than 2 years for me. But that's really not very long in the big scheme of technology. And now I think in terms of IoT, so think about devices like, is 2 to 3 years really reasonable?
I think
And
right now, probably not. I would think you're at a shorter life cycle than that right now, Matthew.
Well, I'm thinking these devices are going to be in place much longer than that.
Oh, you're saying as far as how long are the devices going to be like living in the field? Yes.
Yeah, let me give you an example. So the new Google's new Android IoT OS.
Yep.
So their support cycle on that is only 3 years, and I think both the Canonical offering and the Azure, whatever that is, Azure IoT Sphere or whatever it is, so that both of those have 5-year support cycles, which 5 years feels a little better to me, right? But
I
you
worry
think
even
about it.
5 years isn't enough. If
Well,
you install something, let's say today in a hospital, I'd put a bet 10 years down the road, you're still going to see it there.
Well, that's just it. Like, think about something like a thermostat. Like,
Yeah.
we just had our thermostat replaced this year, right? And we've got some fancy touchscreen now, and it connects to the internet, and I have no idea what it's doing, right?
Realistically, though,
Wi-Fi.
when do you think you'll ever replace that darn thing?
25 years from now.
Exactly.
So I really hope I'm not running a vulnerable version of Android on it. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Oh, I think you definitely are running a vulnerable version here in about 5 years. Yes.
Well, probably today. I mean, how do I
Yep.
know when that has been patched?
Yep.
But I think it seems like the IoT life cycle, at least the way I'm thinking about it, it seems much longer to me. Like, you can't think about it like mobile. 5 years doesn't seem long enough.
No.
To me. It's something that might be in place for 5, 10, 15, 20 years, maybe, depending on what the device is.
Mm-hmm.
And so that obsolescence cycle, we're talking about in this article, they do mention that that crazy gold Apple Watch edition that was $17,000 or whatever.
Yep.
And that like that would be out of date in 2 years. But that follows to me, that follows the mobile path.
I would actually
IoT
agree.
is different.
I think a great example is the thermostat. That's something most folks can think about and relate to. In the industrial space, though, there's lots of different devices. Let's say the ones that are now going into your car, right? They have IoT that's going into your car. Cars last freaking forever. You're not going to replace it even in 5 years. And I doubt you're going to pay a mechanic to go in and replace the whatever that is, right? It's not going to happen. So is there a recall then because it's been compromised?
Yeah, well, just think about the home automation, systems, right? And it's like, well, once you set that up, I mean, I don't assume if you continue to use it, I don't assume that's something you'd swap out after a couple of years.
No.
So what does the support lifespan look like? How long do you get software updates?
That's
if you get them at all, and what do manufacturers need to plan for there? Is it more like a desktop operating system, like, Windows 7, which launched in 2008, 9, somewhere around there. It is still supported through 2020, I think, right? That's 12 years. Is that more like the IoT life cycle? I don't know.
I think so. I think it's definitely more. I think it's one of those where you're going to have to look at the industry and look at the device because, like you said, your thermostat, right? 25 years later, you're going to replace batteries, but you're not going to replace anything else in it.
No, absolutely. It's going to still be there, and probably people are going to be hacking out of my network.
Or it's not even working anymore, that piece of it.
I removed the Wi-Fi password, so it actually cannot connect now. I don't know what it needs it for. I don't know what it's supposed to be telling me.
Well, lots of stuff. You just don't know what you need.
Exactly. Yeah. I need to be able to turn the temperature up and down.
Yes. Exactly.
That's funny. All right. So, folks, that kind of wraps things up for this week. If you do have any feedback for us, we would love to hear from you. We would always love to hear from you. You can shoot us a message at podcast@gearforgesoftware.com, or you can find us on Twitter at GearforgeIoT. And you didn't hear this from me, but we will be coming to YouTube in the relatively near future, audio only, but you'll be able to listen to our podcasts on Google's platform. So in any case, yeah, go ahead, Cliff.
I was going to say that should be really exciting. We've got, just to give everyone a heads up, we've got to convert all of the past episodes. So we've got we've got about 32 episodes, including today, to do a conversion on. So it's going to take just a little bit.
Yeah, I'm writing a script to handle that. Just need to find some time to work on that. That'll probably be in my list of what have I been doing one of these weeks.
Like, oh yeah, I wrote a script to redo this. Oh, fun.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Well,
you can put that, and I'll put on my way to YouTube fame.
that's right. So do you guys have anything fun planned for the weekend? Zeineb, how about you?
I don't know yet. The beach is calling my name. It's 10 minutes away. I could totally go, but it's so hot. I don't know. I'm still thinking.
Yeah. Not sure. Cliff, what about you?
Well, I think you know what I'll be doing, Matthew. So looking forward to Matthew coming over this weekend and having some fun on Saturday. And then I think on Sunday I'll be putting in a new window. I don't think there'll be any tech type stuff at all this weekend. It'll just be, I've got stuff around the house that needs to get done.
Oh, so a better view.
Gotcha.
No, it's not for me. It's for we've got a little small place that our son lives on the property, and it's a separate kind of, it's a small house, or a shouse is what she always calls it. And we've been wanting to put a new window in, so I think I'm going to teach the boys how to put in a window this weekend.
Sounds like a good life skill.
Yeah, I think so. It's like, yeah, why not? Matthew?
Yeah, we are looking forward to joining you for margaritas, puppies, and river living, as
Yeah.
they say.
Weather is supposed to be absolutely gorgeous on Saturday.
Sunday's probably going to have to be a catch-up for me. I got to mow the lawn, do all that stuff, and then, boy, it'd be good to get some work done.
Yes.
All right, folks. Well, thank you so much for listening. We hope you'll join us again for next week's show. And until then, so long and be well. Bye, guys.
Bye.